This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
So we coach every player. Ray Lewis wanted to get coached. Ed Reed wanted to be coached, okay? And the least player on your team, he wants to be coached too. Because he kind of knows if you're not coaching him and teaching him, he kind of knows where he stands. Is he on the team? You owe it to him to coach him.
Welcome to the Mushroom Society series on the Coach and Coordinator Network. Before we get started, make sure you have your ticket for the 2026 C.O.O.L Clinic coming up May 14th through the 16th. This is the premier offensive line clinic in football, built on 40 years of tradition and made for coaches who want real teaching they can use right away. Your ticket includes live access to the full clinic and 60 days of replays after the event, so you can go back, study it again, and bring it back to your players. With Dick Vermeil as the keynote speaker and a lineup that includes Miami's Alex Mirabal, Texas's Kyle Flood, Oklahoma's Bill Bedenbaugh, Notre Dame's Joe Rudolph, Ohio State's Tyler Bowen, and Super Bowl champion John Benton of the Seattle Seahawks, plus many more. This is a room of offensive line coaches you don't want to miss. If you coach the position that drives the offense, get your ticket now for the 2026 C.O.O.L Clinic. You can find that in the show notes or go to thecooolclinic.com. Today, we're bringing you a segment from the 2025 clinic with New York Giants head coach John Harbaugh as he talks about building a program, teaching with purpose, and finding the balance between control and creativity. Here's Coach Harbaugh.
All right, coaches. Our guest speaker, head coach John Harbaugh, one of the most knowledgeable, personable, loyal guy. He creates a chemistry where you want to come to work. Win or lose the game, you want to come to work. And he has that chemistry created not only with his assistants and with the players, but he has it in the whole building. And he does a great job, as you can tell by his record. It's a pleasure for me to call him my friend. Okay, so, John, you got him, right? Go to work, buddy.
Appreciate it, Wiles, man. I tell you, it's an honor to finally speak at the C.O.O.L Clinic. You know, I've been watching these clinics ever since Cincinnati days when we were there, and Coach McNally and you started this thing, and all the great O-line coaches that kind of came through, and we'd come down there. And I never coached O-line, but I coached tight ends with Harry Heastand, so I feel like I'm an honorary part of the crew there, you know, and nothing but respect. Nothing but respect for coaching the profession, nothing but respect for the offensive line coaches that I've had the honor and the pleasure to be around every single day for the last 40 years, been coaching football. So to me, this is a unique group, man. This is a great brand. This is kind of the heart and soul of football. When we first came to Baltimore, I don't know how I got this job. Somehow, some way, Steve Bisciotti decided to give me a chance, but one of the first things we talked about in the interview was it starts in the trenches. It starts with the offensive line on offense. It starts with the defensive line on defense. And the only way you can be successful is to first of all be sound up front, and second of all to dominate up front. And we tried to build our teams around our offensive line and our defensive line because, you know, stopping the run and running the ball and getting to the quarterback and protecting the quarterback is where it all begins. I mean, if you can't do that, you can't do anything. And a lot of times it's not very sexy to pick offensive linemen. It's not very sexy to go down there and watch the O-line or coach the O-line. And it's certainly not too sexy looking at those guys, you know, with their shirts off. But those are the guys that win football games. So this is really what it's all about. And I think about the offensive line coaches just in this clinic right here. I mean, you know, Coach McNally, like, Coach is a legend. Coach McNally changed football in the 80s. He was the guy, the forerunner with all the zone scheme stuff. And Coach Kenny Anderson was the quarterback coach there. And like, this is probably 80, this is probably 89 or 90. And they were rolling. They were at Wilmington. Wow, as you remember this time. And they were having training camp there. And they invited us down with the Cincinnati staff. And Jim Anderson was the running back coach. And Jim Anderson, my dad, they were coaches at Stanford. And so they were great friends. So he called Coach Anderson and said, hey, can my son come over and watch training camp, and just maybe be a fly on the wall and sit in on some meetings. And I promise you he'll stay out of the way. So Coach Anderson said, yeah, he can do it. Just make sure he stays out of the way. So I got to go to training camp and they let me sit in on the meetings and watch him coach their players. And Anthony Munoz was playing left tackle. I mean, are you kidding me? And I had a chance to do that for a couple of days, and we're at practice and even got a chance to get called in behind the offense when the offense was doing team against the defense. I'm standing back there listening to the calls, and Boomer Esiason is playing quarterback. Collinsworth is playing wide receiver. And I couldn't really hear the plays so much. And, so I'd have to get a little closer to the huddle and listen, see if I could hear the play call, because I needed to know the play call, of course, to watch what they were doing up front. And, everybody's kind of getting close listening. So I'm moving up, getting a little closer. Next thing you know, I find myself sort of in the huddle. And all of a sudden, Kenny Anderson stopped the whole thing and says, hold on a minute. He drops a few F-bombs. Who the F is this in my huddle? Who are you? And why are you in my huddle? Just like, oh, Coach.
I'm just trying to get better.
Just trying to get better. Yeah, I didn't say that to Wild. I just backed up fast as I could, man. And Kenny Anderson still tells that story, and he's right. It was shouldn't have been in the huddle. We keep everybody 20 yards back now, Wild, just because of that. Paul Alexander. I mean, back to Michigan days, and Paul Alexander and Cam Cameron, when they were GAs there, got to know them. I've been talking football with Paul way back. Aaron Cromer, Miami guy, another Cradle guy, Bobby Johnson. And then, of course, you had Warhop, Coach Hop. I mean, I love that guy. And it's just, it's just fun being around offensive line coaches. I was thinking about all the guys that I was around as offensive line coaches. I'm just going to kind of throw some names out there before we get going and just honor these guys. And then also some names you're going to really remember. But the first guy at Western Michigan was a guy named Ray Jeske. And he was a great coach, but he got out of it and he made a bunch of money in pharmaceuticals. So that's always an option. Then Bill Myers, right? Bill Myers was our you remember Bill Myers, Wiles. He was our offensive line coach. Yeah, Horsehead at Pitt. One of the all-time great, tough guys, great coach. Vic Clark at Morehead State. Harry Heastand at Cincinnati, right before you got there, Wiles. Ended up Notre Dame, the Bears. Bob Wiley, Wiles, we were together at Cincinnati. I mean, you talk about a couple great years. Learned so much football from you. And you and Coach Minner. Coach Minner was an amazing head coach. And you would go in there and just try to keep that run game kind of not too big. Let's not put in 10 more plays for the game. But and we ran the ball. I think we put about 500 on Miami one year, as you pointed out. Wiles, we went to the Indy 500, right? My brother was playing for the Colts. And he said, why don't you guys come down and watch the Indy 500? We got a little bit of a late start, and there was traffic, and we got stuck in traffic. And I had to get off on the highway and run out to the woods, take care of something so I wouldn't have an accident, run back in. So we were late. But we got there, Wiles, and we had a great time. Just fun. And then after that, Sam Pittman. He was a tight end coach, and he became the O-line coach at Cincinnati. He talked about great staffs. Ron Crook was there. Greg Studraw was there. Mark Deal at Indiana. Juan Castillo, all right, was with Juan in Philly and then back here in Baltimore. And then in Baltimore had John Matsko, was our offensive line coach for a number of years. Andy Moeller, okay. Andy Moeller, one of my childhood friends, coaching up together, great offensive line coach. Then Joe D'Alessandros, God rest his soul, who was our offensive line coach up until this past year when he passed away in August. Joe D, who everybody loves Joe D, and he's not just a great coach, but all-time great person. And then Hop, watching Hop today out there get after those guys and coach those guys up and teach those guys on every detail of knocking people off the ball. And I think about Hop, I think about here we are together in Baltimore trying to break through and win a Super Bowl again, and heck, Hop, we go back, he doesn't remember, but I remember him because he was a great player and I wasn't. He was at UC and I was at Miami, and he was an All-American center at UC. And then Mike Godfrey took Coach Hop out to Kansas and made him his offensive line coach at KU at like 25 years old. And he was a great coach then. And here we are circling back. And we visited out there and had a chance to learn football from him way back then when I was at Western with my dad, Western Michigan. So, man, this is less a big circle and a fraternity, and that's what coaching is. And I feel like we're in the greatest profession in the world. I feel like we get to do stuff that people only dream of doing, and yeah, it's a fight and it's tough and it's competitive and you got to fight for your family and you got to fight for your next opportunity. You got to fight for the chance to go out there the next day just by doing a great job. But you get to be around young people and you get to stay young, and you get to impart some values on guys. And like my dad, he's 85 years old, and we grew up in coaching and we grew up around it every day. I mean, you talk about the greatest childhood you could ever have. We were the kings because our dad coached football and we got to run around at practice and be around the players and be in the locker room and be around it. How could you not want to be a football coach? And I know guys bring their kids around and make it important to them and make it family. And that's really what we try to do here. We try to remember how blessed we are to do what we do and to make sure that we enjoy it every single day and we respect the people who are doing it. We respect one another. We respect the players. We know how hard it is to play football. We know how tough it is to play football. And so when these guys walk in the building, man, we respect these guys and we teach these guys and we respect them enough to coach them the way they need to be coached to get better too. And that's some of the stuff that I kind of want to talk about with you guys here today. So I think back growing up, Jim and I, our dad taught us lessons that I guess dads teach kids, but our dad was a coach. So he had a little different take on it. And I want to share one lesson. I want to share one of these stories with you. And then I kind of want to go through this thing and open it up to questions as we go. I guess you guys can type in questions. So I'm not very good on this screen. I got a nice little presentation I'm going to share with you. And I hope you like it. But if there's something that comes up and you're listening, please chime in, because that's the way we do it here with staff meetings. I want to hear from guys, and I want it to always be a conversation. But when I was about 11 years old, just growing up and having a dad as a coach, my brother was 10 years old, and he had a Tuesday night rec baseball game. And so I'd go to his game, always take him over to his game. We'd ride our bikes over, and I would watch his game, and he'd come and watch my games. And so he's playing. Gets to be about the fourth or fifth inning, and my dad drives up, had the station wagon with a wood side there. That was also the recruiting car. That was the only car we had, but he was able to get a station wagon because he had a couple boys. And I see him park, and he comes walking down, and gets to be the fifth inning, gets to be the sixth inning toward the end of the game, and Jim's up, and it's an important at bat. And he pops one up right to the second baseman. Second baseman camps under it, makes a catch. And Jim, sort of jogs and then walks out of the batter's box back to the dugout while this kid's making the catch. That wasn't really, that wasn't going to be too good. But we go walking up to the car, and we got our bikes. So we're walking up to the car. Dad's walking with us, doesn't say a word. We get to the car. He opens the back of the station wagon. He grabs Jim's bike, and he throws it in the back of the station wagon. And he looks at Jim, and he says, "You're walking." And Jim's like, "Why?" And I kind of got it figured out. I'm the older brother. He says, "Well, you want to walk so much on the baseball field, you can just walk you can just walk." He just basically said, "You can walk your ass all the way home." And I kind of looked at Jim like, "Yeah, that's right. You should have run out that pop fly." Then my dad grabs my bike and throws it in the station wagon and looks at me. And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You're walking too." I'm like, why? He's like, because you're his older brother. And you should have taught him better than that. You're both walking home, and you can think about it on the way. I mean, yeah, that's what a football coach teaches their two boys. That's the way we were raised. So
This segment is brought to you by the Mushroom Society. If you're serious about getting better as a coach, the Mushroom Society gives you more than just another content library. It gives you access to real football teaching, clinic material, and a community built around ideas you can use. And right now, it's also the best way to get into the 2026 Cool Clinic because your Mushroom Society membership includes your clinic ticket. So you're not just getting access to the premier offensive line clinic in football coming up May 14th through the 16th, you're also getting year-round value that comes with being inside the Mushroom Society. If you want the clinic ticket, the coaching community, and year-round learning all in one place, go to mushroom-society.com. That's mushroom-society.com. The link is in the description.
this is a good one. This is a football one. Find the balance between control and creativity. Talk to our coaches about that, all right? We as coaches, these are opposing values. These are opposing good things. We want to control what we put on the screen is our work of art as coaches, man. We got to be on point. We got to be doing things the right way. We got to have our eyes, our communication, our spacing, our footwork. All right. We got to make the right check. We got to make the right adjustment. We got these motions these guys are running. We got to be on point. How are we going to handle these things in the back end? And that's hard to do. We want to control everything. We want to be creative at the same time. We want to come up with good ideas. We want to be expansive in the plays we choose and the defenses we choose and how we build everything. That's where that system stuff comes in, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So we're all organized so we can be creative and still have control. But we got to balance all that stuff out. All right, we got a rule here. It's called the 95-5 spending rule. All right. It's to create room for the really creative stuff that we really want to have to move the needle. All right, sometimes we call them the Esther plays. If you've read your Bible, there's a story about a queen who was a Jewish queen in Babylon named Esther. And she was advised by her old sage advisor, Mordecai, when she was called upon to save the Jewish people from being wiped out by the Babylonian king. He told her, and she was she had to go do something and say something to the king. It was a great risk, and she probably was going to be killed for it. And she expressed her concern about that. And he said to her, yeah, but how do you know that you weren't created and put on the earth for just a time such as this? And that's our Esther plays. How do we know that this play is not being created for just a time such as this? Just a moment in the game when we got to have a play that's going to make the difference in that game. We got to have a blitz and a disguise pattern that is just the play, just for a time like this, that's going to get that stop we got to have to win that game. We need to have some room. We need to have a budget in our system to create those plays. Not too much. But if we spend 95% of our time making sure we're controlling all the controllable things, all the pre-snap things, all the technique things, all the communication things, build a system that the guys can execute out there without thinking too much, but they can be in control of on the field so we look like we're disciplined and we know what we're doing, then we've bought 5% of our budget to build in some creativity and some Esther plays, some difference maker creative plays for when we need them the most, all right? Find the balance between control and creativity, the 95-5 spending rule, all right? Goes to this point right here, build great systems, all right? Great teachers teach great systems. If the system isn't well built, if it's scattershot and not well organized, I don't care how good a teacher you are. You're going to struggle to teach it. You're going to try to figure it out, and you're going to try to make sense of it, and you'll probably do a good job making sense of it because you're good, you're smart, and you're a good teacher. But if you build a good system in front of that, it's easy to teach, and it falls right in place. Say here, I'm a system guy. Systems are fun. It's fun to make everything fit, make the words fit. The West Coast guys that I grew up around, I would be a special teams coach, And they had a great system. I mean, it was a Bill Walsh system. It was amazing. And they would bring the system and they would talk about the different words that they had for the different plays. And sometimes it was like, why do you call it that? Because Bill Walsh called it that. It's like, okay, well, that's good. And all the West Coast guys understood what that meant. They were in a family, so that was fine. But that wasn't for me. It's like, no, I want to build our system. I want to use, yeah, we'll use those concepts and maybe those words do work. But I want to build words that all mesh together and fit together. All right. We're going to be speaking the same language. We want to be talking in the same dialect. Okay. We want everything to fit and to make organized sense. And to me, that's a creative process. The way we build our defense has got to be a creative process. We can't just have can't have 500 different defensive calls, but we want to present maybe over the course of the season, 500 defensive presentations. So we got to organize this thing in a way that you offensive line coaches can't look at that thing over time and say, oh, every time those two guys are lined up inside the tackles, it's going to be one of these three blitzes so we can take the protection that way. Can't have that. We cannot have that. We got to have you drawing up 100 different blitz patterns with coverages behind them, trying to figure out what the heck these guys are doing. That's the goal. To do that, you got to build a great system, all right? It's a practice, and it's an art. And all the great artists, as it says here, have a system in place to create. You got to have a system to hone your ideas. It's an active process, not a passive one. You're always building, tweaking, reorganizing your system. All right? Good idea comes from everybody. Whose idea was that? Most times you don't remember. You know why? Because everybody's taking credit for it. Yeah, we came up with that 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that was my idea. It's everybody's idea. The bad idea, hopefully it didn't get through everybody, because you got to vet it out and make it great. But the bad idea belongs to nobody, man. Just throw it away and forget about it. I love this quote right here. Maya Angelou. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And the word we use in building our systems is elegant simplicity, okay? So that phone that you have, that iPhone that you have, it's hit somewhere in my desk right now. That iPhone right there is more powerful than the systems, the computers that sent men to the moon in '69 by far, right? We all know that, right? That thing is really complicated, but that thing is really easy to use, okay? We can all figure it out. Touch of a finger. That's the way our defense needs to be built. That's the way our offense needs to be built and our special teams, okay? There's a lot that goes on. You're an offensive line coach, man. You guys are really smart. It's so hard to have an answer for all those challenging things that you're presented with every single day. You got to give that to your guys, and you got to create something that makes sense to those guys. And all those words and all those calls that I'm trying to learn that Hop's doing in there, right? They got to make sense to those guys, and it's got to fit together in a way that they can go like that and be on the same page, all right, with just a couple of words, okay? Build great systems.
This segment is also brought to you by the Harbaugh Coaching Academy. Coaching takes more than X's and O's. It takes leadership, awareness, and the ability to support athletes on and off the field. The library is full of great content from coaches in college football and the NFL, as well as other sports. You can find it at theharbaughcoachingacademy.com. The link to it is in the show notes.
Clean up the chaos, okay? This kind of goes with the system too, because I think you clean up the chaos, get all the BS out of there, anything that's confusing, anything that rhymes, anything that means two things. We had that this year in our defense. We had certain things that meant 2 and 3 different things. They were the same words. That's chaos. It doesn't make sense. But there's also a chaos that, to me, like I joke with the guys, I'm bilingual, right? I speak 2 languages. I speak English and I speak body language. Like, I don't know Spanish. I don't know French. I took German, had to cheat to get through that in college, pretty much. But I know body language, all right? And I know how things look. And I know what our players look like. Every single player, I can just tell by the way they run who the guy is, because I've watched them enough, okay? You know what a good play looks like because you've seen it. Stand back and watch a kickoff coverage, and I can watch it, and I pretty much know what everybody did because I've seen it so many times. It's not chaotic to me, okay? So I want to create an environment that is clean for the guys' brains. If we're at practice, we're not crowding the huddle like I did the Bengals huddle to get my ass thrown off the practice field in Cincinnati in 1989, right? We're back. We have a rule, okay? It's 3 full 5s plus change. We're always going to be behind a line. It's not 10 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards behind the ball. 15 yards, who can even tell what that is? But I know there's a line. We call it the gun line, and you got to be behind the gun line. And if you're in front of the gun line, what can happen to you? Why do they tell everybody to be behind the gun line? Because if you're in front of the gun line, you might get shot. All right? You got to be behind the gun line. We want to be clean. We want our defense to be able to see what the heck the formation is, not be trying to figure out with all the chaos in behind there because we happen to be behind the play in our team period. We'll be off to the sideline a lot, but when we're behind, we're 3 full 5s plus change. We can be as far as 19 yards off the ball. I like being back there. No, I don't need to be close enough where my wide receiver coach can tell the guy to get a tighter split. All right. Hopefully he already knows that, or speak louder, or get it cleaned up on the next play, or we'll do the play again. But I want to clean up the chaos on the field, on the sideline. Let's be in the box where we're supposed to be, like we got to be in the game. How about walking in to and working in a perfectly organized meeting room? All right. How about a meeting room that's clean? How about your messages on the wall that are clean? Yeah, I know there's going to be a candy boxes over there. I know there's going to be some stuff on the floor here and there. You know, Coach Hop's going to have his reward wine bottles around. That's all good. That's all part of it. But the messaging, the football, how you present what you're doing is clean. When that picture of that play goes up on the screen, there can't be mistakes on there. There can't be wrong verbiage. There can't be lines that really don't make sense. I can't tell our defensive ends that we're going to play a heavy 9 technique, you know, splitting the crotch of the tight end, and then have the drawing with a guy, you know, spaced out off the tight end where there's air there. I thought you said it was a tight 9, because they do what the picture shows. They can't have the line being something that doesn't depict what the play is going to look like. That's why it was so much better when we all had the circles and we drew the plays by hand, because you were an artist. You made the drawing look like the play. The computers have gotten a lot better. Guys are doing a good job with it. But if you're doing the drawing, man, you got to make it look right, okay? Here's the idea. When you create this environment, okay, that says no matter what uncontrollable thing is going to come up, and they're going to come up, and no matter how flustering and offsetting the situation feels, we know we always have the ability to take control, because this thing makes sense, all right? This thing is organized. The sky is not falling. We can get right back on track. I got some examples down there. The quality of the TV screens, okay? What I mean by that is like, what are we putting up on our screens around the building? You know, our messaging around the building. How professional is it? How good does it look? How easy is it to read? How about the training room and the weight room being neat and organized? The locker room, that's tough. You know, your players, they'll be a little sloppy sometimes. You know, I don't police them too much, other than the fact that if I get a complaint, like, I'll tell the guys, you got a neighbor that's, you know, kind of infringing on your space, you know, let me know, all right? Then we'll get him to clean up his yard, okay? We can't have that. Be respectful. But the room itself, we got to work hard to keep it organized and clean. The boards, clean and fresh. That stuff doesn't mean staying on a board drawn up there for 3 weeks after you use it because you haven't gone back to it. Clean those boards and fresh them out. The indoor facility. Like when I first got here, they had taping stations around the field on the indoor facility. I'm like, what are we doing? Is this the training room? Oh, no, we don't want them to have to go running all the way back into the training room to get taped during practice. I'm like, yeah, but what if somebody runs into the taping station? Plus, it looks like crap. All right, I want it to be clean back there. I don't want this background eye noise for everybody. I want the guys to be thinking about the play, thinking about what they need to accomplish. How about in the office? Do I need a pile of dishes in the sink? All right, you come up, you eat dinner. You got to take your dishes back down to the cafeteria, guys. I'm sorry, that's just what you got to do. Don't put them in the sink. For somebody, you think somebody else is supposed to take your dishes back down to the sink? I mean, you know, we got a great job, but we're coaches, okay? Paper on the copier. A lot of guys have lost some of their work because I happened to walk into the copy room and there's a stack of play drawings on there. And it's been not usually out, you know, but if I go back again, or if I feel like it's been there for a long time, I'm throwing that thing in the recycling bin, which is locked. Nobody's going to see it, okay? There doesn't need to be stray paper sitting on the copier all day. Plus, what if the Steelers buy one of our janitors, right? And they go grab those things off the copier. Oh, that could never happen. I guess probably not, but I've heard stories, all right? So we're not taking any chances. It goes to your individual drill, okay? And it goes to substitutions on and off the field, running off the field, making the signal the right way. Everything needs to be clear and not chaotic and cleaned up, okay? All right, next one. Find the hidden treasure. This is one because my daughter was an athlete, and this is when it hits home with me, all right? It goes right along with write off no one and continue to develop everyone. So we coach every player. Ray Lewis wanted to get coached. Ed Reed wanted to be coached, okay? And the least player in your team, he wants to be coached too, because he kind of knows if you're not coaching him and teaching him, he kind of knows where he stands. Well, if I'm not coaching you, then that's bad. That is bad, okay? Is he on the team? You owe it to him to coach him, okay? You got to coach all your guys, and you don't write anybody off. You don't look at a player and say, he'll never play here. How do you know he'll never play here? I mean, I know that there's going to be certain guys on the team at different levels that actually might never play because that's not why they're on the team. But they can be the best player they can be, and you'll find something for them to do. Whatever it is they're capable of doing, they're going to do. But there's also a lot more players that we'll look at and go, he doesn't do this well, doesn't do that well. I'm going to try to get him replaced. It's like, that's fine. I mean, yeah, you're all going to try to bring in the best players you can, but how about you try to get him better? How about you try to figure out what his strengths are? I mean, seeing the weaknesses of a player, that's easy. Coaches complain all the time. We tell our coaches, another one of these things I didn't have in this particular presentation, but other ones is it's not your job to cry about the talent on the team. It's not your job to say, this guy's not good enough. If he's on the team, it's your job to make him good enough. It's your job to figure out what he's capable of doing. It's your job to identify the strengths of the people on your team, no matter how buried those strengths might seem to be. All right? Yeah, eventually some people might need to move on, all right? But you better make darn sure that there's not some hidden capability that this player or this coach can do. There's not some strength that you didn't miss, that he goes on to some other team and becomes a good player when you said he couldn't play. All right, you'll be held accountable for that. It may not jump out at you immediately, but you got to find it. What if you have him in the wrong spot doing the wrong thing? What if you're asking him to be the type of player he's not supposed to be? I mean, our defensive line, we play square. We knock people back. We use our hands. We shed blocks, all right? We drafted a guy, Aeneas Peoples, in the 6th round. He's 6 feet tall. He's 287 pounds. All right. He's a little bit like, I mean, I hate to use the comparison, Aaron Donald, but he's that kind of a guy. He's disruptive. He's a penetrator. He makes people miss. He gets in the backfield. Well, he's not really a Ravens-style defensive lineman. Yeah, I know he's not really what we've had, but how about we throw some people a changeup? How about we throw a slider at some people with Aeneas Peoples this year, maybe? How about we find a way to put him on the field? And when he's out there, we play to his strengths, okay? And we build the defense around what he can do really well. Hey, I think it's going to help us. So write no one off. Continue to develop everyone.
That was Coach John Harbaugh from the 2025 C.O.O.L Clinic. His idea is great and really hits home because, of course, control matters, and you want to build systems your players can execute, but yet at the same time create enough space for the moments that win games. And that's what the C.O.O.L Clinic has been about for more than 40 years. If you want more of this real teaching, detail, and things you can take back to your team, then you need to be in for the 2026 C.O.O.L Clinic. Join us May 14th through the 16th. Your ticket includes full access to every session, plus 60 days of replays, so you can go back, study it, and share it with your team. With Hall of Fame head coach Dick Vermeil as the keynote and a lineup of coaches from across college and the NFL, this is the room where offensive line coaches get better. If you coach the position that sets the standard for your entire offense, go get your ticket to the C.O.O.L Clinic now. The link is in the description. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com. See highlights of our clinics, free lessons, articles about our coaches, and links to all our podcasts. Go to coachandcoordinator.com. Follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski. Follow the C.O.O.L Clinic on X at the C.O.O.L Clinic.